Hello, everyone, and welcome to Esports Cyber Tabletop. For this second day, Government Day, we're going to be going through a scenario where we have a team of people looking at a government facility. So, welcome everyone to the city of Breachwater. It's Monday morning, and your city has approximately 93,000 citizens who depend on the water supplied by this plant. We are in the plant right now because we've been called to investigate an issue. It looks like our HMI, the Human Management Interface for our SCADA network, has some strange anomaly. There's been a report of something wrong with it. So I'm going to ask our system operator to move into the next room and begin to investigate it.
Okay. I'm looking at HMI for any suspect failures or for any fault. And then is there any change in the chemical ratio or amount?
Okay, so you want to take a look at the HMI? What would you do if you were there and you were trying to look at it? What's your first thing you'd want to look at?
I would like to look at HMI, whether we have suspect failures or any fault.
Okay, go ahead and give me a roll for that. You have to get about 6. So it looks like there were some pieces not connected and you had to do some system setup before you could get further along. I'm going to ask our field tech to come in and assist as your turn is over.
Yes, I'm connected in, and I want to know if what we see on the HMI, I would like to know if there is any physical incident connected to that.
Okay, it looks like the system operator got the system ready for you to look at it. And what you see on the screen is it looks like someone has placed a random text file on the desktop.
Okay, yeah, I could see some files which hasn't been before. As per procedure, I have to call emergency response team 555.
Okay.
Dialing.
All right. Hello, this is your emergency response team staff member for the day. What are you calling about?
Hello, this is system operator. I have noticed some anomaly in my HMI. I don't see any changes in values or any fault. It's working as expected, but this file appeared from nowhere.
Did someone recently make any changes to the system, or did you put the file there?
No, usually we don't have administrator access for that.
Okay, this sounds like we should probably get someone from our security team to look into it. I'm going to get back to you, and thanks for putting in this issue. We'll have someone come and check on it. Okay, so I'm going to have our security tech come over to the HMI and take a look. There's been a report that there are random files on the desktop, and the system operator says they didn't make any changes. What would you like to do?
Well, if it's a suspicious file, let's run our tools against that file locally by getting access from the operations technology folks and see if we can't find anything on that.
Okay, go ahead and roll. You need to get at least a 10. All right, it seems you're a very skilled security tech. And while you were doing your scan, you noticed something interesting. There was a minimized prompt that was left by someone who'd recently been in the system. What does it look like is going on there?
Access file being used by another person. So it appears that the file is some sort of malware. It's been executed, and we cannot access to delete or change the file because someone is using it. So I think the next step is we've established that someone is breached the system and is actively in the system. So we need to now understand the connection points to the internet from the module.
All right.
From the
So
HMI.
turn is over. And looks like so far, so just for everyone to debrief, what we've got so far is you've got our HMI system, which controls the water plant. It looks like there's some random files showing up on it. And our security tech believes that there might be some kind of malware installed. So we're going to ask our CIO to come in and help us out.
All right, CIO is now here.
All right. So your team has discovered there might be some kind of malware on the HMI system, and they've opened a support issue. A security tech's come in and thinks that there's a problem.
Okay, so I'd like to gather what evidence we have so far, but also look to consult at, what incident response playbooks we have. Do we have a playbook that references this? What documentation do we have? And as we were declaring an incident, kind of start to instigate those processes.
Okay. So why don't you go ahead and roll, and we'll see what your playbooks look like. Unfortunately, while your organization is beginning to become mature and have playbooks for technology and security, the OT side of things has been left out of it so far, sort of just operationally running, and there isn't really a good playbook designed for something going wrong with the HMI.
Okay, so do we, very quickly, we need to consult, do we have any system documentation that can give us sort of the lay of the land, so to speak here, to help us in triaging this issue?
Right. That's a good suggestion. I'm going to hand that over to the system operator who can attempt to find that if that's what she wants to do. System operator, it's your turn. What would you like to do?
The system operator is here. We have corrective procedure, which requires us to take actions if we suspect any faults. But however, when we see malware, we have to follow incident response plan from the security team.
So in this situation, what would you like to do first?
The first thing we do, we contain the incident, which means we have to isolate HMI. We have to run, disable all remote access. The first thing that we have to do.
Okay. So why don't you
And
give me a
then,
roll to try and discover what the lay of your network looks like. You need to get at least 10. Fortunately, the documentation was not in a place where you're aware of it, or it could be just that it hasn't been done yet. We are going to hand this over to our field tech now as your turn is over. Field tech, just as an update, where we are right now is our HMI looks to be compromised in some way. There's possibly some malware on it, was confirmed by our security tech. And our CIO is trying to figure out, in the absence of any playbooks, which we haven't written yet, what should we be doing next, and what does the topology of this network look like?
I tell you, basically, I'm being a field technical person, I'm worried about safety. And I would like to see if any of the team can help me to find out if there are any safety consequences to what we are seeing on the HMI, or do we have another process to verify that the system is working fine?
So it looks like our field tech's on top of things today. That's a That's a very good result you have there. And while you were looking around and trying to figure out what was going on, you did stumble across this network diagram.
Yes, you ask me?
Yeah, you just stumbled across this while you were looking to see.
Yes.
If,
Basically, what I would like to do is to see if we can isolate the internet connection from external connection to this control system, and by that try to eliminate external access which perhaps caused the incident. So my priority when I see such situation is to see if I can segregate the industrial operation, the HMI, the PLCs, and the switch, and see if I can get hold or if I can start controlling the system.
Right. That sounds like a good goal. So your turn is over. You discovered the network documents and came up with a plan. Now it's our security tech's turn. Security tech, you think you found some malware on this system, and our operations team has discovered the network topology. And we're looking for your recommendation as to what you want to do. Did you want to see that network diagram again, or do you know what you want to do?
Yeah, thank you. I think there's two potential avenues for compromise. One is through the firewall, through an IP address coming through the public network, and the second is a direct connection to the HMI through the cellular modem. So the next step would be to see if we could block that IP address through the firewall, the 192.168.1.0/24, and see how fast we can work with our field tech or operations folks to disconnect the public cellular modem access immediately.
Okay, so given your security tech disconnecting, this is fairly simple. So even though you didn't roll very well, you were able to disconnect the corporate switch from the HMI, but you weren't able to locate the cellular modem connection. So that's still in play. All right, now we're over to our CIO. And in the intern, since we've done that disconnection, we now have a complaint. Our customers who are accustomed to accessing data flow diagrams that are published in our GIS have lost access to it, and they would like a response.
Right. Well, again, in absence of official playbooks and whatnot, then we do need to gather basic details of what we know so far, and provide a debrief at least internally to other executive, to our board and perhaps communications people to decide what are we going to disclose at this point. We still have very much an issue or an incident that I feel don't know enough about. And essentially we've made the choice to go manual at this point. So I think the important bit is if we are running manual, that we do assure that our customers that the operations are sound, and find, without giving out too many details, be able to really assure them that that safety is still intact, and that we are investigating the issue.
Okay, go ahead and roll and see how our customer takes that news. So the customer's not thrilled, but they understand that there's nothing wrong with the actual water plant. It's just a issue with visibility. So they're satisfied, and you're done dealing with them. All right, system operator, it is your turn again. And what you know so far is that your security tech who came from your response when you called them, has disconnected the corporate network from your SCADA HMI, but there's still a cellular modem hooked up to it for some reason. We're not sure why. What would you like to do?
Okay, we need to run. So once we're done disabled from the internet, we have to run ICS on plant floor via embedded HMI to have a visibility, to see what's going on with the plant.
So what would you like to do?
I would like to run the HMI on plant floor, which means not remotely, on the plant, to gain the visibility.
Okay.
Since we're isolated now.
Then go ahead and roll for that. All right. Seems like you still know how to access your HMI and and run it well. So while you were looking inside of it, you've noticed that it looks like there's certain sensors you don't have access to anymore. Just stuff that you can't reach at all. So you've lost some telemetry, and there's certain pumps and mixers that they might be working, but you can't see them. You can't see what's going on. So system operator, your turn is over, and we're going to pass it back to our field tech. Field tech, we still have a system that's connected to the internet from a cellular modem, but it's no longer connected to the corporate network. And we've had some customer complaints because they've lost some visibility. We've also noticed that we've lost some visibility on some of our systems as well.
So basically, having no choice, I need to dispatch some people on site, actually go to the field equipment and visually verify that everything is working fine. And I know that a correctly designed system should work even if visibility has gone, but the system should work. So I want to find a way to reassure our customers that water delivery will continue.
Okay, so you want to get some extra people, get them out in the field, and get them looking at the actual pumps and equipment you need to make sure it's all working.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and roll for that.
Okay. So that's what I activated.
So you were able to track down about half the people you needed, and they're going to go on rotation and report back to you as to what they find in the field. And it is now our CIO's turn.
Okay. Have we received that report back?
No, we've not yet.
Okay. Well, I think continuing, I mean, reprising my role from the security side as a form of incident commander is we still need to be ensuring safety. We still need to ensure that systems are available, at least operational, and providing updates at a regular cadence. However, now that since we do have the HMI isolated and we essentially are blind, I believe that we should start looking and doing some forensics on that system and looking a little deeper into kind of root cause and what the issue is and try and contain the threat.
Okay, so right now the HMI is hooked up to the corporate network, is disconnected from the corporate network, but it's still plugged in to a public cellular modem, something a security tech discovered. And looks like most of your telemetry was transiting over that corporate network, which is why it's lost, why we have field techs out in the field. What do you think you'd like to do first?
I would, yeah, I'd still like to find that cellular modem because there's a foothold in the system until we can isolate that. So again, I think I'd like to take a second attempt at isolating that cellular modem. So we can.
So you're on
really...
site right now at the system. You can do cable tracing and so forth to find it. So why don't you go ahead and roll and see how well that works? You need to get at least a 5. All right, so you were able to find the Ethernet cable in the second NIC and trace it back and across the room into a closet where we had a cellular modem plugged in, and you have now successfully disconnected cellular modem. So right now, the HMI is blind, completely not hooked up to anything, but you know pretty certain that no one has access to it, and if they did, it got cut off. So now we're going to go back to our system operator. And right now you have an HMI that is completely disconnected but still turned on. You getting reports back from field techs that it looks like so far they've checked 3/4 of all of the field assets. So far everything's running fine. It doesn't look like anything nefarious is happening. What would you like to do?
I have to make sure that this safety systems are working properly for just in case if PLCs will be changed for safety reasons.
Right, so you want to have someone take a look at the system itself to make sure it's good?
Yeah, safety system.
Yep, go ahead and roll to see if we can get someone to look into that. All right. So it looks like you've got the resources scheduled, and someone's going to come in and they're going to verify to see the system baseline against images for your HMI. In fact, they might even just do a restore at this time because it's suspect that things are appearing on the desktop. Now it's our field tech's turn. You're getting most of your reports back, and it looks like so far you've got a few sites left to visit, but all of the field assets are nominal. They're behaving the way they're supposed to. It looks like so far it's just the HMI system that was affected. What would you like to do? Mr. Field Tech?
Sorry. Okay. So once we verify that everything is working fine, I believe that we are happy that the delivery of the water is going on, and I want to ask the system team to come over and restart the HMI, clean it from whatever happened there, because now we do not have any safety issue, we don't have any water delivery issue. So I believe that we can allocate an hour to clean the HMI and return it to normal operation. And from that point, I see that the incident is ended. We just have the visibility problem.
Right. Okay, so you rolled very well for that. So we're going to immediately have the security tech look at that. But in the meantime, we've got a question come in. It looks like our customer wasn't very happy and they took to the internet. And so we now have a local paper writing a story. They're saying, good afternoon, we've been receiving reports of a major problem with your treatment plant. The story I'm writing is going to be published in the next hour, but I wanted to give you a chance to say, can you confirm if these reports are legitimate? Are the citizens at risk? And is there anything else you'd like to tell me? I think I'm going to direct this question to our CIO.
Well, thank you. Again, I think since we were caught without an official plan as to handle this incident.
You're talking to the reporter right now. Are you telling me you don't have a plan?
Oh, I'm talking to the reporter. Sorry, I'm not talking to the group yet. So, yeah. So I can confirm that the reports of of issues are legitimate. Yet there was no risk to citizens. These.
So I live here. Is this water safe to drink, or should I be switching to
Yes.
bottled water?
Yeah. Safety systems were fully activated and operated as expected, and were verified by operations staff. And we are still in the process of triaging and establishing root cause.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to tell me about what's going on? Has this sort of thing happened before?
This is the first time we've had it happen to us, but certainly these types of attacks are becoming more and more prevalent, and thus we take this quite seriously, and we will work continuously work to ensure our systems are safe and secure, because these are the times we're living in.
Okay, so you're telling me the water's safe, it's a system issue, and can I assume you'll get back to me once you know more?
Yes.
Okay, all right, great. So now that our CIO is done dealing with press as the ranking officer here, we're going to go to our security tech, who has been asked by the field tech to take a look at cleaning up the system, the HMI. But it is up to you what you want to do, security tech.
Yeah, so I think we're going to run our tools against it. We're going to isolate that file and dissect it in a separate system. And then we're going to run the forensic analysis on the machine itself, on the switch, and also on the wireless access point. And then we will produce a report back to the operations team and the CIO with specific recommendations moving forward for improvements.
Okay,
roll.
So go ahead. Yep, go ahead and roll. Let's see how well that goes. Very good. So you were able to isolate the malware, and you figured out what it was. Unfortunately, it looks like you're going to have to rebuild this system. But fortunately, because you did disconnect from the corporate switch early on, it doesn't look like this spread to too many places. So
Okay,
that,
so we've
takes us
received this ransomware.
yeah. So it looks like when you were working on this machine and you rebooted it, it came up like this, and you know that this was on your network for a while. So it's probably prudent that you would be thinking about doing an investigation in other places.
Yeah, so I think what we would do in this case, because the operations team and the is restructuring the data and putting everything back, we don't have to pay the ransom. We would run our tool set against in the entire operations network, and we would check to see if there's any other circumstances where there's indicators of compromise. And if we find them prior to turning the system, the HMI system back on, then we would remediate those. And then in addition to that, what we would do from an industry's perspective is we would inform our colleagues in water across North America and the world if it is a new threat. And we would contact the specific vendors of the technologies that hunt for these activities to be good stewards of cyber. Okay. Should I roll again?
Yep.
3.
So unfortunately, it looks like you let the window lapse and you did not actually have adequate backups to restore from. So it looks like our CIO might have to be calling that reporter back, and this will become a bigger story than it was going to be. Hopefully they still have a job in a week. And that takes us to the end of this scenario. Did anyone have any comments or thoughts while they were going through this? Has anyone been through something like this before?
I think, Mark, as we, especially in the CIO and or being an incident commander is it really shows how, having plans, having playbooks, of some sort is crucial, especially when there's cross-departmental involvement. Otherwise, I'm sure there's a lot of capability and experience, although that can change very quickly in a business environment or an operations environment. But people typically know how to go manual or what have you. But the plans and having the thresholds and for response and the communications plan set ahead of time certainly helps remove bias from the situation. Because we're all typically driven by some form of bias.
Yes, that's right.
The other thing, Mark, is it's vitally important from a cyber perspective to have updated software and hardware lists from operations technology, IoT or IT.
Mm-hmm.
Without that, in this scenario, for example, we weren't able to protect the device or run our tools and vulnerability scans on that device. We didn't know it existed. There was no documentation, and we had to find it. So it's critical that the various, teams work together, IT, cyber, and operations technology, to ensure that data is shared and kept up to date.
But sometimes it's difficult to apply the standard practices to an OT environment as you would in IT, either for stability reasons or because the pieces don't fit well. Have you ever dealt with that before, or come across something, or has anyone else ever successfully harmonized the IT and OT security in an environment?
I would just give a general comment. I think overall the industry is maturing, and there are many technologies now that do the integration. So you would combine traditional, for example, endpoint protection technologies, and also get the data and response information, threat information from OT protection devices in through a specific solution that combines the different aspects. Because as we have moved into the world of working from home, those internet connections to those supposedly air-gapped systems are not required temporarily, but required. And so additional controls need to be put on those. Monitoring forensics needs to be implemented on those channels and communication channels. And we really need to work together between the three teams from industry perspective to mitigate this risk.
Yeah, I like the supposedly air-gapped systems comment you made there. Everybody go check your air gaps and make sure there's nothing in there. So I think that brings us to the second half of our presentation here. We have Danielle, who's an expert in exactly this kind of security, and probably the person you might want to be your incident commander when it happens to you. He's going to walk us through a more practical and realistic version of this kind of scenario. Ours was very simple so that it was easier to understand, but there's a lot more moving pieces, and incidents like we just went through typically take days, not hours. So Daniel, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Okay, perfect. Can you Can you share my screen?
I think we're seeing it right now.
You see the screen? Okay, perfect. So we are going to go through incident response for a more complete facility. Just briefly introducing myself, bring my 45 years of engineering experience, SCADA, cybersecurity in worldwide companies. And basically, when we are looking into a complete organization, we need to remember this picture. On the left side, we see the ICS-OT facility. In the center, we see the firewall, which can be a data diode, which can be DMZ or any other. On the right side, the business network. And so this is the structure of the organization. Coming to our exercise, we will go through a very interesting process which are developed specifically for this event. I didn't present it before, except of this morning for a training session in Singapore. But here is what is happening. And naturally, we are going to start when on a HMI, similarly to our system engineer detected, is that there is an anomaly condition. When we see this kind of situation, we need to go by priorities. And the first priority I always need to ask, does this anomaly or this incident is creating a risk to operating safety? And this will be the first question. Obviously, if I say no, which is a brave decision, I will go and perform an assessment on the plant. However, if I am not sure what is really happening, I will go to the upper boxes and I will ask if it's infecting the normal operation. Is there an outage? Is there a change in the service that I have to provide? And then obviously I can say no, or I can say probably yes. And if I say yes, my first suspect will always be blaming the IT connection, blaming always the IT. The ICS people like to blame the IT people, and I say disconnect it from the IT zone. So depending which direction we are going, we can go to the next slide. And immediately after that, I want to check if the plant returned to normal operation. If no change, I'm going to dispatch an assistance from the incident response team. This is the way I see it. However, if I look at the red box, and when I realize that there is a safety risk, I want to immediately initiate an emergency shutdown. I want to put here a very careful comment. Emergency shutdown does not mean turn off everything, because the damage emergency shutdown might cause will be significantly more severe than a cyber attack. So we don't know. Very important that every organization will have a complete process of how to shut down a facility, because I already have seen an example of an emergency shutdown that the 300 megawatt generator burned completely down because of the shutdown, which was not done properly. So going further, because our time is very short, I don't want to take too much time, also leave some questions. I can go, if I perform the emergency shutdown, obviously I will have some more things to do. However, if I dispatch on the green box, if I dispatch ICS assistant from the IR, okay, and they may request to perform a shutdown. Now we are not talking about emergency shutdown, but a controlled shutdown. Or I can go to the upper box and I may decide to continue operating, because we all know that business continuity is highly important for every organization. If I go to the other direction, in the bottom of this diagram, I will, when I already realize that there is no safety issue, I will perform a test, okay, with assistance of expert people, and then I am going to ask them if they detect a severe reason. If they detected a severe reason, obviously we are going to dispatch professional assistants, okay, and we need to decide about how the plant may continue operating or may not operate. If I go to other possibilities on the top, if they request to shut down the process, I already said that we are going to perform a controlled shutdown, okay? If everything is working fine, I still not leave this case. This was an incident fact that we detected an anomaly behavior condition, and we are going to perform assessment of the IT operation, because remember, we already requested to disconnect the IT operation from the ICS operation. So here we are with all the possibilities. Obviously, it is a theoretical case. I do recommend that every organization, water, electricity, oil and gas, whoever, will develop this kind of chart for their own facility and to be well prepared for handling the incident. If I go further, obviously, I will perform all the inspections, all the maintenance of the facility. If it's possible to bring back the facility to operation, it's obviously important. And finally, I have to go to the yellow box and perform complete documenting the entire incident, because I already know that there will be some kind of investigation. The expert people and the management people will come and ask questions. I will need to show them that diagram, which decisions were taken, and hopefully everything is working fine. But this will be the effort that I do for returning the operation to normal. However, I'm not going to end my process at this time, and I'm going to do further investigation of the IT network or the ICS network, because I really want to find out what happened. So what we are going to do, we are coming to the next slide, and I have some instructions to my team about what kind of inspection is required. So if I want to start with inspecting the ICS zone, okay, I will request to identify exactly what happened, talk all to third-party service provider, talk to suppliers of components, and try to collect all the possibilities why it happened. If my system involve any kind of cloud service, obviously the cloud service is not part of the ICS. However, in the cloud, I can have some system optimization and perhaps some maintenance systems to identify what is happening. So I'm going to refer to the to the cloud service provider to see what type of information I can retrieve from there. If once I completed it, or maybe I will not go in that direction, but I'm also going to inspect the connectivity between the IT and ICS zone, because one of the possibilities was that if I do a manual disconnection of the IT interface, whether there is a firewall or DMZ, If there is a diode, I'm sure it's not nothing will happen because diode is a physical cyber defense that I'm going to trust. But I'm going to inspect that connection in case there was a DMZ or firewall to find out if there was any configuration problem, something that allowed the attack from the IT zone to penetrate to the ICS zone. Furthermore, if I have to do inspection of the industrial facility, then I'm going to ask my team to look at all the programming actions related to the HMI, related to automation server, related to PLCs. And wherever necessary, I'm going to do any kind of comparison to the golden image. Golden image is the recent configuration which I have stored. And so I will do it for the HMI. I will do it for the PLCs. I will also do it, going to do inspections of the sensors, because we are all know that Purdue level 0 is truly a reason where things may happen. So once I complete all these activities, I do hope that I will have a great picture of what really happened, and I review it. I'm going to present this picture and the previous picture to my management to show them that a professional investigation of the entire organization was completed. I'm going to prepare the documentation of our findings, and by that I hope I will be allowed to close the incident. I really would like to show this picture, which is very, very important. And in this picture, we see how industrial operation is working, because I know that in many cases I have a discussion with IT people, and the IT people do not have the feeling of what this picture is showing. We need the ICS OT people who have this picture under the pillow, and even when they sleep, they have this picture in front of them. So in the bottom, in the green box, we see normal operation meaning that the parameter is within the normal range. About that, we see in the blue box a situation that for any reason one of the parameters went out. So why I'm showing this picture? Because we really don't have too much time. When we detect the anomaly condition, we need to work very, very fast, because this picture is showing us that if the parameter is in the blue zone and we are not taking care, the operator is sleeping or is unable to realize what to do. And reminding to all of us the Oldsmar case, the water utility in the USA in February, where the operator saw that one of the parameters jumped from 100 to 11,000. Okay, which according to my understanding, it was a mistaken design of the entire control system. Before I would be worried about cybersecurity. But anyway, continue further that if this doesn't help, we need to go to a safety layer. And I myself was involved in a case in Canada where in Vancouver, one of the sewage plants spilled the sewage, and everybody was asking what happened. I said, let's go to see the safety system if it's in good shape. So somebody climbed on the tower and realized that the safety shutdown wire was cut. So if this is the situation that the safety is disabled, we all remember the Saudi Arabia Aramco case 2017, when the safety system was disabled, then obviously things can go higher and higher, and finally we have no choice, but the explosion will happen, because in a correctly designed system and with operators and people who are trained, we could have opportunity to stop this incident in a lower stages. So how we complete the story, we need to have in front of us this chart, which is showing the coordinated operation of the incident response team, the people who should react instantly and make sure that all the tools and all the arrangements are in place. We need to coordinate it with the business continuity planning and preparedness, make sure that we have all the equipment in place, spare parts, backup data, and so on, and disaster recovery, which will help us to bring back the system to normal operation. So now we see the complete picture between this triad, the incident, which I described, and hope that this will help all of us to achieve a stronger system. By the way, anyone who is interested to receive these slides, just send an email to the siberX organizers, and we will definitely send you out this presentation, because our goal is to enhance and improve the cybersecurity. Any question, I can go back to any of the slides and provide further explanations. Otherwise, my email is there. Anyone can send me a question. Mark?
So yeah, we have a question actually, and it was, do you have any recommended best practices for doing backups or log collection on industrial environments as opposed to IT environments?
Well, yes, and when we are doing a commissioning of a new system, or when we are doing retrofitting of an older system, we need to keep the golden image in order to keep all the programs stored. In addition to that, all the real-time data should be forwarded through the DMZ. In the DMC, obviously, we have the historian, and in the historian, we will collect the real-time data. Finally, I want to recommend everyone that when we need to be prepared to protect our organization against 3 types of risk: internally generated cyber attack, what happened in Stuxnet and other incidents; externally generated attack, Saudi Aramco, Ukraine, and many others. And finally, we should not forget being protected against supply chain related cyber risks. And we are all aware that the supply chain is now creating major headache to people in the organization. Supply chain is, where are you buying the computers, the software, and who are your service providers. Finally, I want to recommend to all responsible people, remote access to industrial control system should be prevented, should be prohibited. When it is absolutely necessary, we need to do authentication of who is connecting. We need to supervise the activity of the person who is remotely connected. And finally, we need to have the person who is responsible to immediately block the remote access when that service is completed.
Thanks, Daniel. That's great, and I really appreciate this presentation relevant to the game that we finished playing. And thank you to Kush, Saltanat, and Dave for playing the game with us. Hopefully, that experience stays inside of only a game. And I want to thank all of you for participating today. And that is a wrap for our session today.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And hope to meet next time in another discussion.
Wonderful.
Okay, perfect. Bye-bye.
Bye.